you're not moving towards your target, if you're not making results and actions towards that thing you want, check in, right? Are you stuck in analysis? Are you stuck in trying to validate and determine every single possible detail? Or are you in the game taking action? And the simple way to think about this is, are you spending more time thinking about getting in the game? Or are you spending more time thinking about winning the game? You can sit there and spend hours and days and weeks and months thinking about getting in the game and thinking about being successful, but nothing is ever going to change until you walk onto that court, pick up the ball, and start playing. Nothing happens till you engage. Today, let's talk about you have got to get in the game. You've got to get in the game. What does that mean? You've got to get in the game. You may think you're in the game. You're probably in the game, but some areas you may not be in the game. And this topic comes up a lot. And it comes up a lot. And there are times like when I was learning how to coach and I was learning the coaching and the coaching wasn't working. And you're talking to a client and you're having call after call and the client is not taking action. And the client's not taking action and you're like, what is going on? You're doing everything on your part. And then I started to hear things like analysis paralysis, doubting, looping in circles. And that's when I started to understand the concept of getting in the game. Because it's almost like when you're going to go play a game, you can be on the sideline. And you could be on the sideline. Let's say you're playing basketball. You want to go play basketball. The game you want to play is basketball. And you're standing on the sideline. When you're standing on the sideline, you can watch the game. But you cannot play the game until you get into the game, until you walk on the court and start playing the game. I always know now when a client isn't in the game, because when they're talking to me about coaching and action and focus and what to do, they're actually in a process of deciding whether or not to take the action. So if you are in a situation where you're trying to choose whether to take the action, you can actually be not in the game. What does that mean, not in the game? I am in the game. I'm here, I'm making decisions, but are you really? Because, for example, I will sometimes get a coaching call and a client will say, I want to take this action, but I'm scared of the potential downsides or the risks of the action, which is the same thing, which comes up a lot. I hear the term analysis paralysis. What is analysis paralysis? Analysis paralysis, what I see a lot, because I work with a lot of real estate investors, analysis paralysis is trying to take an action, but unable to analyze a clear direction that creates the wanted result. And therefore, there's the lack of action. So then there's this analysis over and over and over again. I'm going to do this new thing. I'm going to do this new thing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a plan. I can't figure it out how. The planning's not working. And then over and over again, you're planning and you're never taking action. Because what's actually happening in those situations is that you're trying to control the result. And if the result involves other people, you cannot control the result. If your result involves, for example, a sale or an investment or something that involves other people to make a decision, you can never control that. You cannot, because the only thing you can control is yourself. So I've talked to some clients and they've been on the sideline thinking they're going to start a new business, thinking they're going to start a side hustle, thinking they're going to take action to change their job. And they're just month after month and year after year in the same spot. They're in the same spot because they didn't get in the game. They're setting big goals, but they're not following through. And I have a really interesting story on how I conquered that myself. And I'll tell you that in a minute. But the thing you want to understand is that you can be on the sideline. Let's think about basketball. You're on the side of the basketball court. You want to play the game. You're about to go in the game. And then the person who you're taking over for gets elbowed in the face and gets their nose broken. And you can sit there on the sideline wondering if it's safe to get in the game. And you can try to plan and prepare as best you can. But when you start engaging in life, when you start engaging at your full potential, really, and going big and swinging for the fences and hitting impossible targets, you're going to hit unknown obstacles. There's absolutely no way to prepare for that unknown obstacle other than to be prepared to handle it, because you don't know what it is. You don't know what obstacle is coming up. So you either you can sit on the sideline and worry about getting in the game. Oh my God, it may not work. Or you can just fucking get in the game and then figure it out, because nothing is going to happen until you get in the game. That's why I don't coach people anymore who aren't in the game. Because if they're not in the game, they're not committed to taking action. So if you're not moving towards your target, if you're not making results and actions towards that thing you want, check in, right? Are you stuck in analysis? Are you stuck in trying to validate and determine every single possible detail? Or are you in the game taking action? And the simple way to think about this is, are you spending more time thinking about getting in the game? Or are you spending more time thinking about winning the game? Because you can sit there and spend hours and days and weeks and months thinking about getting in the game and thinking about being successful, but nothing is ever going to change until you walk onto that court, pick up the ball, and start playing. Nothing happens till you engage. And you are going to have to accept whatever risk and obstacles comes with playing that game. That's how life works. If you want to grow your income, if you want to get a new job, if you want to start a new investing business, if you want a side hustle, there are risks. Absolutely. There's always risk. There's risk driving your car. But do you want to spend your life worrying about driving to the grocery store, or do you just want to live your life? It's up to you. Are you ready to engage? Because the thing is, all of that, for those people that are on the sideline, worrying about getting in, having fear about getting in, having doubt about getting in the game, all of that fear and worry and doubt disappears the moment you give yourself no other option but to play the game. So if you decide, I am going to play the game, and maybe it's, I'm going to start that side hustle. I am going to look for a new job. I'm going to learn how to grow my income. I'm going to figure out how to make passive income in real estate. Whatever that target is, you can spend your time worrying about if it's going to work or not, or you can decide that it's going to happen. And at that point, you're putting your focus, your energy, and your resources in the right place. And it's very easy to get stuck on the sideline if you're not paying attention. Because the thing is, in real estate investing, there's risk. Yes, there is risk involved. You cannot outplan the risk of an investment. An investment is inherently risky because you can't control the outcome, because the outcome involves other people. It involves one person, multiple people, could involve the business you're investing in, could involve the clients of that business. You cannot outplan the risk. So the best strategy you should do is to calculate how much risk you are open to tolerating at what specific time and what specific amount, and that can get you moving. But if you're in analysis paralysis and not moving, the first thing you need to do is make a decision to get in the game. And make a decision that I'm going to hit the target by this date. I'm going to take some action because it's time for me to engage. And I will share with you that when you start to engage in that game, it is not going to be easy. Nope, it's going to be hard. It's going to stretch you. Some things may be easy, but the whole process of growth and expansion is growing and transforming you. If you lean into that growth, if you embrace that process, that journey, that direction, you'll realize that the obstacles that life is giving you on that path, a path of growth, are specifically tailored for you to create the version of you that has completed the result. That is the path. My path actually had an interesting trajectory. You've heard me talk in previous episodes about the lawsuit in my first company and my biggest failure. But in 2013, it was an interesting time. I was working a day job. We lived in the Bay Area. My wife and I had our son, Dash was born, and she was pregnant with our son, Magnus, who was due in like a month or two. And what we decided to do is we decided to move from the Bay Area to the Sacramento area because we could cut our cost of living in half, and Alexis could stop working. She had been running a small business at the time, a preschool. She could close that business down, and then she could be the stay-at-home mom. So we decided to move to Rockland, California in 2013. And we were moving right around Easter. And this is right around the same time that I had a Tony Robbins coach. And last year I went to some Tony Robbins event. So we move to Rockland, California. She shuts down her business. The day after I move, I get laid off from my technology consulting job. Magnus is due, the baby Magnus is due in 4 weeks. She's 8 months pregnant. At the same time, I get a call from Tony Robbins and says, hey, would you like to join our coach training program? You can join, but it's not free. You have to pay for it. So I'm sitting here going, that's exciting. That's terrifying. I literally talked to my employer. I'm like, could you fire me next month? Lay me off next month so we could get insurance? And like the woman in HR was like, can she have the baby early? And I was like, anyway. So basically, I have this opportunity to start this exciting career in this new direction. At the same time, I lost my income and had no money. So it was a struggle. We were on COBRA. We were on unemployment from the state, trying to get by. The startup company that I had run, 986 Incorporated, for the few years before that, wiped out any savings I had. So, well, I was actually never good at saving at that time anyway. But basically, it was a challenging struggle. So I'm talking and I'm starting as a Tony Robbins coach, and I'm excited. And then this new direction is like so much excitement about becoming a coach. And then actually what happened was I was talking to another coach on the team one day, and I was ramping up my clients as fast as I could, but the Tony Robbins coaches literally paid me $60 an hour. And it was very hard to support a family making $60 an hour. I was making over 6 figures in my consulting job before I was laid off. And I was unable to find a new job. So I'm sitting here trying to build my own coaching business at the same time. And I'm setting goals, and I'm in the Tony Robbins coach training program, and I'm trying to everything I can to get the coaching thing going while I'm looking for a job. And literally I couldn't find one. And I'm talking to one of my coaches, a guy named Gabriel Pachter. He's actually was a peer on my team. He's an amazing coach. And we're sitting there one day, and he goes, well, what do you need most right now? And what he said, and I said, what I could really use is like $2,500 this week to cover rent and other things. And he's like, okay, well, and it was like Monday. And he's like, okay, we'll go make $2,500 this week. I'm like, done. And he goes, okay, now what I want you to do is go to the Tony Robbins coaching team's Facebook page, because the coaching team communicated through a Facebook page. Go to that Facebook page and post to that Facebook page that you're going to hit $2,500 this week in new sales, and commit that to the team. And this is like me, brand new, one out of 120 coaches with all the leadership team there. And there was a little bit of like politics and like grinding and my screw with your head there. So there was some games going on there. And I'm like brand new coach doing my best to ramp up and get clients. And Gabriel's like, go ahead and post this to the Facebook group. And I'm like, done. And he said, also, okay, so tell them that you're going to hit $2,500 in new clients this week in your personal business, or you're going to eat a can of dog food. And when he said that, I went, and like my mouth froze. And the words would not come out of my mouth. And he caught me right there, and he knew, and I knew what he was doing. I didn't know what he was doing at the time, but now I knew what he was doing, because that conversation turned into him coaching me and giving me some of the most powerful coaching in my life. And he's like, well, do you want $2,500? I'm like, yes. He goes, well, can you commit to it? I'm like, yes. He's like, will you eat the dog food? And I was like, and the words stopped coming out of my mouth. And he knew that at the time, Dash was 3 years old. So he said to me, Jason, how would you feel? Just imagine 10 years from now, Dash is hanging out with his friends after school in junior high. And one of Dash's friends says, hey, Dash, why do you live with your grandma? And Dash says to his friends, oh, we live with our grandma because my dad wasn't willing to eat dog food to create financial independence. And it was this gut punch that just hit me straight in the gut.